Hi Karina, I'm just taking a look at your design here. So if you want to make the inside of the basketball orange, you wouldn't do it on the, you only want to work with black first. So let's just work with black. It does appear that you have this, let's see, you have it set up by 3 by 3, that's good. Your document's set up right. Let's just work with black first. I would say making these lines a little thicker is probably going to be in your best interest. It might get a little goofy if you try to make these lines bigger. You have quite a few different lines too, which is typical, just because when you're working with these tools, it can be hard to create continuous lines that are closed. So when you try to make these thicker, it just doesn't really end up looking the best when you have multiple lines. Oh, okay, I see what you're doing here. Okay, there's a white box there, I guess. Okay. Some of these shapes would actually do okay to make them bigger. But some of them aren't going to work super well to make them bigger because they're not all one chunk. These are not closed shapes, they're open or they're chunks of shapes. That being said, they do look pretty good. If you push Shift on your keyboard and get these two selected, you can go to Object, Path, Join, and that will join those two chunks. Typically you have to work in twos, so if I get this one, this is all grouped together, so I'll ungroup it. But I'll get this one selected and this one selected. I'm pushing Shift. If I do Object, Path, Join, that will join these together. So at least we have that to work with, and that might make it a little easier to make these thicker. Just so that they size down a little better. There's some bumps in here that we can definitely smooth out. If you click and hold down, you can use the smooth tool. You have to have your object selected. It has to be highlighted, obviously, to be able to smooth it out. But that did smooth it pretty well, and you just drag it over the area you want to smooth. Same goes for this, like we could shift click these and then Object, Path, Join. So that's one chunk now. I can see that you kind of did a little bit of a workaround here. Let's see. Now that this is joined together as one shape, we can just fill it in with white, I believe. Yeah, so that should do the trick. Oh wait, we have a problem. There was another chunk I didn't see. That we might want to bring in, oops, to the fold here. Shift click, Object, Path, Join, there. So now that it's joined and it's filled in with white, if we do arrange, bring to front, wait, did that work? Oh, I need to fill it in with white. Then move it back over. That should fix that problem. There's still some issues with the fingers, but we can use the white arrow tool and we can push Shift and open up some of these points, make them turn white so that we can move them around a little bit. Getting some weird results here. I don't know if this is actually joined together. I think there's still a part of this that's not joined. I do Object, Path, Join. Okay, that didn't work. It appears to be joined together, but it's not technically joined, I don't think. If we shift click that, it'll turn white so we can move it around. There's handles here that we could potentially manipulate a little bit to make this look a little bit better. Hands are kind of hard to get looking correct, but maybe something a little bit more like that. You can try your best with that. Same goes for this one. We could even make this a closed shape if we wanted to, although I don't think it's necessary, but just make that 2. And these could be, I wonder if you could use the stroke profile on this. You can use a different stroke profile, so if you click on the word stroke, you can get a different profile. You could experiment with those if you wanted to. so that you get kind of lines that are thick in the middle and thin on the ends, or like shape like that. We don't want any fill color on that, so I'm going to take that off. Something like that maybe. And then to get the type to show up, I would do a font pair. I think this is the same font, so do think about making a font pair. But if you click and hold down, actually before you do this, make a copy of Command-C, Command-V, or Control-C, Control-V on your keyboard. Make a copy of that circle at the same size you're using it, click and hold down, and go type on a path. And then you can come up with your top font pair. So this type on a path is here. It's under the text tool or the type tool, and you just click on your path, the path of the circle, and then you can move it over here. And I would suggest using a thicker font, very legible, doing some sort of font pair. So if we do this, maybe, since this is a sports team, you might want to make it look kind of sporty, maybe. Maybe this would be all uppercase. I'm not saying this is great, but this isn't quite bold enough. If we need to make this a little bit bigger, we can by just holding shift and doing that. There is a front and a back line that you can pull around if you want to pull around your text to change its position, but maybe something a little bit more like that. Using a bolder font. This Warriors font is kind of sporty, but it's not bold enough. It's got the white and just small, so we want that to be filled in a perfect world. And then if you want to fill in, Command S that to save it. You would rename this. You do a file save as, and you do Karina logo, black and white, BW. And then you'd export out your JPEG once you get your fonts outlined. So you definitely want to outline your fonts. You click on that text box and go create outlines, and then save that to your AI document. When you rename this, hopefully from rough draft to just logo BW, and then export as, you're going to export out your JPEG file. Use artboards. This would be named differently, and we want this as JPEG file, and then export that. CMYK, grayscale makes a little more sense for a black and white logo, but you want to use CMYK for the color when you export out your JPEG, so make sure to pay attention to your JPEG options. High resolution is good, and push OK.